Have you noticed something strange lately? Everywhere you look, people are talking about one supplement. Some call it nature's Ozempic. Others claim they lost 10 pounds in just 1 month. Some even say it reversed their blood sugar problems without prescription drugs. But here's the question almost nobody is asking. Is any of it actually true? Or is Berberine just another supplement riding the wave of social media hype? Because here's something that completely surprised researchers. Berberine doesn't actually work like Ozempic at all. In fact, it behaves much more like one of the most prescribed diabetes medications in the entire world. A medication that doctors have trusted for decades. And once you understand why, you'll also understand why scientists have spent years studying this tiny natural compound. Because this isn't just about weight loss. It's about something happening deep inside your cells, a problem that millions of people have without realizing it. A problem linked to diabetes, fatty liver, high blood pressure, heart disease, PCOS, memory decline, and even several forms of cancer. Today, we're going to walk through exactly what happens inside your body if you take Berberine every day for 30 days. Week by week. You'll discover why some people notice dramatic improvements. Why others barely notice anything. And the one mistake that causes many people to think Berberine doesn't work. Let's begin. The biggest misconception on the internet is that Berberine is simply a weight loss supplement. It isn't. Weight loss is only one possible result. The real target is something far more important. Insulin resistance. If you've never heard of insulin resistance before, don't worry. Most people haven't. But understanding it could completely change how you think about your health. Imagine insulin as a key. Every time you eat carbohydrates, your body converts much of them into glucose, which enters your bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin. That insulin acts like a key, unlocking the doors of your cells so glucose can enter and be used for energy. Simple enough. But over time, especially after years of eating excess refined carbohydrates, sugary drinks, frequent snacking, lack of exercise, poor sleep, and chronic stress, those cellular locks start ignoring insulin. It's like repeatedly knocking on a door until eventually nobody answers. Now insulin has to knock louder. The pancreas responds by producing even more insulin. For a while, that works. But eventually, glucose starts building up in the bloodstream. Now blood sugar rises. Insulin levels rise. Inflammation increases. Fat storage accelerates. And your metabolism begins working against you instead of for you. This is insulin resistance. And researchers now consider it one of the biggest drivers of chronic disease worldwide. In fact, one large review published in 2024 found that insulin resistance is associated with more than 30 different health conditions. We're talking about type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, fatty liver disease, high triglycerides, high blood pressure, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovary syndrome, kidney disease, sleep problems, and many others. This doesn't necessarily mean insulin resistance directly causes all of them. Health is complex. But the association is strong enough that scientists continue studying it intensely. So where does Berberine fit into all of this? This is where things become fascinating. Most people compare Berberine to Ozempic. But scientifically, that's not really the best comparison. Ozempic belongs to a class of medications called GLP-1 receptor agonists. One of its primary effects is helping people feel full sooner, reducing appetite and slowing stomach emptying. That's one reason many people lose weight while taking it. Berberine works differently. Instead, research suggests Berberine activates an important cellular pathway known as AMPK, sometimes nicknamed the body's metabolic master switch. AMPK helps regulate how your cells use and produce energy. When activated, it can improve insulin sensitivity, reduce glucose production by the liver, and support healthier energy metabolism. Interestingly, this is one reason researchers often compare berberine with metformin, a long-established medication commonly used to help manage type 2 diabetes. Several clinical studies have found that berberine may produce improvements in blood sugar that are comparable to metformin in some people. That doesn't mean they're identical. And it certainly doesn't mean berberine should replace prescription medication without medical guidance. But it explains why scientists have become so interested in studying it. Researchers have now published dozens of reviews and clinical studies examining berberine's effects on blood sugar, cholesterol, inflammation, liver health, and metabolic function. That's remarkable for a natural plant compound. One comparison study produced particularly interesting findings. Participants taking berberine experienced meaningful reductions in long-term blood sugar levels, measured by HbA1c. Fasting blood glucose also improved. Even more surprising, some cholesterol markers, including LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, improved substantially in certain studies. Again, results vary depending on the individual and the study design. But the overall trend has attracted considerable scientific attention. So why isn't everyone talking about it? Part of the reason is that supplements aren't regulated the same way prescription medications are, and study quality varies. Another reason is that lifestyle still matters. No supplement, not even berberine, can consistently overcome a diet high in ultra-processed foods, sugar, and excess calories. Think of berberine as a tool. Not a miracle. A tool that may work best when paired with healthier eating patterns, physical activity, adequate sleep, and, for many people, reducing excess refined carbohydrates. In other words, it may help your body become more responsive. But you still have to give your body something healthy to respond to. And this leads to the question everyone wants answered. What actually happens after you start taking berberine? Do you notice anything during the first week? Does your appetite change? When does weight loss begin? Why do some people feel better almost immediately while others experience digestive discomfort first? In the next section, we'll walk through week 1, where the very first metabolic changes begin, and why many people are surprised by what happens before they lose even a single pound. So, you've decided to give berberine a try. Maybe you've cleaned up your diet. You've cut back on sugary drinks. You're eating fewer refined carbohydrates. And you've started taking 500 milligrams of berberine with your evening meal to help your body adjust. Now what? Does the weight start falling off overnight? Not exactly. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting the scale to dramatically change within the first few days. That's usually not where the biggest changes begin. The first changes happen somewhere you can't see. Inside your metabolism. And those invisible changes often determine everything that follows. Let's look at what typically happens during week 1. Week 1, your body starts resetting. During the first several days, your body is still learning how to respond. Remember what we talked about earlier. If you've been dealing with insulin resistance for years, your cells have become less responsive to insulin signals. That doesn't reverse overnight. But research suggests berberine may begin supporting better insulin sensitivity relatively quickly in some people. One of the first measurable improvements can be fasting blood glucose. This is your blood sugar level after not eating overnight. For some people, especially those starting with elevated blood sugar, fasting glucose may begin trending downward during the first week. Not everyone experiences the same amount of change. Some notice only a small improvement. Others see larger drops. It depends on factors like your starting blood sugar, your diet, physical activity, medications, sleep, stress levels, and overall health. But even a modest improvement matters. Why? Because your brain is one of the body's biggest consumers of glucose. When blood sugar swings wildly throughout the day, many people experience brain fog, difficulty concentrating, mood swings, energy crashes, that familiar afternoon exhaustion. As blood sugar becomes more stable, some people report thinking more clearly and feeling mentally sharper. Not because berberine is a stimulant, but because your body is managing energy more efficiently. And there's another interesting change. Many people notice they don't feel quite as desperate to eat every few hours. You know that feeling. You just finished lunch. 2 hours later you're already searching for snacks. Then an hour after that, you're craving cookies. Or chips. Or something sweet. Those intense cravings are often fueled by repeated blood sugar spikes and crashes. When glucose shoots up, insulin rises. Then blood sugar falls again. Your brain interprets that drop as an emergency. So it tells you, eat. Preferably something sugary. It's a cycle. The more it happens, the harder it becomes to escape. As blood sugar stabilizes, those dramatic swings often become less intense. Many people describe it as finally feeling in control of their appetite instead of constantly battling it. Now, let's talk about something many influencers conveniently ignore. Side effects. Yes, berberine can cause them. Especially during the first week. The most common include mild stomach discomfort, constipation, loose stools, gas, bloating, or nausea. These symptoms don't happen to everyone. But they're common enough that it's worth planning ahead. That's one reason many healthcare professionals suggest beginning with a lower dose, often around 500 mg once daily with food, rather than taking multiple doses immediately. Giving your digestive system time to adjust may reduce the likelihood of unpleasant gastrointestinal symptoms. And here's something many people don't realize. Berberine has relatively low absorption in the body. That sounds like bad news. But it's more complicated than that. Some of berberine's effects may actually involve interactions within the gut itself, including the gut microbiome. Researchers are actively studying this area because the bacteria living in your digestive tract appear to play an important role in metabolism, inflammation, and insulin sensitivity. If your gut microbiome has been disrupted, for example, by repeated courses of antibiotics, poor diet, or certain illnesses, your response to berberine may differ from someone with a healthier gut ecosystem. This doesn't mean it won't work. It simply means individual results vary. And that's true for almost every nutrition intervention. Week 2, energy starts changing. By the second week, something interesting often begins happening. Instead of feeling hungry every couple of hours, meals start lasting longer. You finish breakfast. And suddenly, it's lunchtime before you even think about food. Or maybe you realize something surprising. You skipped your usual afternoon snack. And didn't even notice. Why? Because your body may be becoming more metabolically flexible. Metabolic flexibility is your body's ability to switch efficiently between burning carbohydrates and burning stored fat for energy. Many people with insulin resistance become metabolically inflexible. Their bodies rely heavily on constant glucose intake. If they don't eat, energy crashes. Mood drops. Cravings explode. As insulin sensitivity improves, many people find those dramatic highs and lows become less noticeable. Energy starts feeling steadier. Instead of riding a roller coaster, you're finally driving on a smoother road. Now, does this mean berberine melts fat? No. And this distinction is incredibly important. Berberine doesn't magically force fat to disappear. Instead, It may help create a healthier metabolic environment where your body can access stored fat more effectively, especially when paired with a calorie-appropriate, nutrient-rich eating pattern and regular physical activity. Think of it like fixing a locked door. If insulin resistance has made it difficult for your body to regulate energy properly, improving insulin sensitivity may help unlock normal metabolic processes. But you still have to walk through that door. Lifestyle habits remain essential. By week 2, some people also notice their clothes fitting slightly differently. Not because they've lost huge amounts of body fat yet, but because reducing refined carbohydrates often decreases glycogen stores, which also reduces the amount of water stored alongside glycogen. This can make you feel less bloated and lighter. It's one reason early weight changes shouldn't automatically be interpreted as pure fat loss. Some of it is simply fluid balance normalizing. Still, feeling less bloated can be incredibly motivating. You wake up. Your stomach feels flatter. Your rings fit more comfortably. Your face looks slightly less puffy. These are often the kinds of changes that encourage people to keep going. And consistency is where the real transformation begins. Because the most significant improvements usually don't happen during the first 2 weeks. They often begin during weeks 3 and 4, when improvements in insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, and metabolic health may become even more noticeable for some individuals. That's also when many people report the biggest differences in weight, cravings, inflammation, and overall well-being. But there's one surprising effect that almost nobody talks about. An effect involving your liver that could influence cholesterol metabolism in ways researchers are still investigating. And if you stop taking berberine too early, you may never reach that stage. In the next part, we'll explore week 3 and week 4, discuss what the current research actually says about weight loss, inflammation, cholesterol, and liver health, and explain who should not take berberine without speaking to a healthcare professional first. By now, you've been consistent for 2 weeks. Your blood sugar may be more stable. Your energy feels steadier. The constant urge to snack isn't controlling your day anymore. And for the first time in a long time, you're starting to feel like your metabolism is working with you instead of against you. But here's where many people make a huge mistake. They step on the scale after 2 weeks, see only a small change, and immediately assume berberine isn't working. What they don't realize is that some of the most meaningful changes aren't visible in the mirror yet. They're happening inside your body. And that's exactly what begins to unfold during week 3. Week 3, the turning point. Around the 3rd week, many people begin noticing improvements that go beyond weight. One of the biggest is reduced inflammation. Now, inflammation isn't something you can usually see directly. Instead, you feel its effects. You wake up stiff. Your joints ache more than they used to. You feel sluggish for no obvious reason. You recover slowly after exercise. Or you simply feel off. Chronic inflammation is often associated with obesity, insulin resistance, and metabolic disease. While berberine isn't an anti-inflammatory drug, several studies suggest it may help reduce inflammatory markers as metabolic health improves. For some people, that means less stiffness. For others, it means improved energy. Some even report sleeping better because their blood sugar is more stable overnight. Better sleep leads to better recovery. Better recovery supports healthier hormones. And healthier hormones make it easier to maintain healthy eating habits. It's a positive cycle. Your appetite may change. Another noticeable difference during week 3 is appetite. Remember, berberine doesn't suppress hunger the same way medications like Ozempic do. Instead, many people simply notice they're satisfied with less food. You finish dinner. And you don't immediately start looking for dessert. You walk past the snack cabinet without feeling like it's calling your name. That change might seem small. But over weeks and months, eating slightly fewer calories because you're naturally satisfied can make a meaningful difference in weight management. And because you're not forcing yourself to fight constant cravings, healthy eating becomes much easier to maintain. What about blood pressure? If your high blood pressure is partly related to excess weight or insulin resistance, improving those underlying factors may also contribute to healthier blood pressure over time. This doesn't happen for everyone. High blood pressure has many causes. Genetics, kidney disease, medications, stress, and other medical conditions all play a role. But improving metabolic health often benefits cardiovascular health as well. That's why doctors emphasize lifestyle changes alongside medication whenever appropriate. Week 4, the changes become visible. Now we arrive at the point most people have been waiting for. The end of the 30-day challenge. This is usually when visible progress starts catching up with the internal changes. For people who combined berberine with healthier eating, regular movement, and reduced refined carbohydrates, weight loss often becomes more noticeable by week 4. But let's keep expectations realistic. Scientific studies don't support the idea that everyone will lose exactly 10 pounds in 1 month. Some people lose more. Some lose less. Some lose almost none. Why? Because weight loss depends on many variables. Your starting weight. Your age. Your activity level. Sleep quality. Stress. Hormones. Calories consumed. Medications. Medical conditions. And how consistently you followed healthier lifestyle habits. Berberine isn't doing all the work. It's supporting the work you're already doing. And that's an important distinction. Your liver may be working better. Here's something that's talked about far less than weight loss. Your liver. Your liver performs hundreds of vital functions every single day. One of them is helping regulate cholesterol and fat metabolism. Research suggests berberine may support healthy liver function and improve certain cholesterol markers, particularly LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, in some individuals. That's important because elevated triglycerides and LDL cholesterol are commonly associated with insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. Again, this doesn't mean berberine replaces cholesterol medication. It simply means researchers continue investigating its potential role as part of a broader lifestyle approach. Does everyone respond the same? Absolutely not. And this is where social media often gets things wrong. You'll see one person claiming berberine changed their life. Another says it did absolutely nothing. Both experiences can be genuine. Your results depend on factors such as how insulin-resistant you were to begin with, your diet, exercise habits, sleep, stress levels, gut health, whether you're taking medications that interact with berberine, and even your genetics. That's why comparing yourself to someone else's transformation can be misleading. The goal isn't to match someone else's results. It's to improve your own health over time. Who should be careful? Even though berberine is a natural compound, natural does not automatically mean it's safe for everyone. Berberine can interact with certain medications, including some used to treat diabetes, blood pressure, and blood clotting. Because it may lower blood sugar, combining it with diabetes medications could increase the risk of blood sugar dropping too low. Pregnant or breastfeeding women generally shouldn't use berberine unless specifically advised by a healthcare professional. People with significant liver or kidney disease should also speak with their doctor before taking it. And if you're already taking prescription medication, it's always wise to discuss supplements with your healthcare provider first. The biggest mistake people make. If there's one lesson to take away from everything we've discussed, it's this. Don't expect any supplement to compensate for unhealthy habits. You can't eat highly processed foods every day, avoid exercise, sleep 4 hours a night, and expect berberine to fix everything. That's not how metabolism works. Think of Berberine as an assistant, not the main character. The real transformation comes from combining several healthy habits. A diet rich in whole, minimally processed foods. Reducing excess refined carbohydrates and sugary drinks. Eating enough protein. Strength training to preserve muscle. Walking regularly. Managing stress. Getting quality sleep. Berberine may enhance those efforts. But it can't replace them. Final verdict. So, what really happens if you take Berberine every day for 30 days? If it's paired with healthier lifestyle changes, you may experience heavy checkmark, more stable blood sugar. Heavy checkmark, fewer energy crashes. Heavy checkmark, reduced cravings. Heavy checkmark, better appetite control. Heavy checkmark, improvements in some cholesterol and triglyceride markers. Heavy checkmark, support for insulin sensitivity. Heavy checkmark, gradual weight loss for some people. But it's not a miracle supplement. It isn't nature's Ozempic. And it certainly isn't a shortcut. The science surrounding Berberine is promising, especially for metabolic health, but researchers continue to study its long-term effects, ideal dosing, and who benefits the most. At the end of the day, the most powerful medicine isn't found in a bottle. It's found in the daily choices you make. Because when you improve the way your body handles energy, you're not just changing the number on a scale. You're improving the foundation of your long-term health. And sometimes, that's the biggest transformation of all.